Hi, my name is Sylvie. I am a certified health coach and I help women look great and feel great through fasting and whole food nutrition. In today's video, we are going to talk about the 2MAD diet. I'm going to start by explaining what the 2MAD diet is. I'm going to compare it with other intermittent fasting methods and then share with you a few questions that you should ask yourself before you decide if it's the right intermittent fasting method for you. Alright, so what does the word 2MAD stand for? It stands for 2 meals a day. So it's pretty self-explanatory. And it simply means that you are going to stick to eating only 2 meals each day. You may wonder if it's the same thing as the 16-8 intermittent fasting method because when you follow the 16-8 method, you skip breakfast. Most likely you'll be having your first meal around noon and your last meal before 8 o'clock in the evening. So often it comes down to having lunch and dinner. And some people may wonder, how is it any different? Well, when you are doing the 2MAD diet, you are having your 2 meals and that's it. With the 16-8 method, you may choose to eat a snack or even a third light meal during your 8-hour window. And as far as comparing 2MAD with OMAD, again, it can be a little bit similar depending on what you do with your second meal and when you have it. Some fasting experts like Thomas DeLauer, for example, recommend 2MAD over OMAD because they feel that having only 1 meal a day may be hard on your digestive system. It can be difficult to consume enough calories in 1 meal, and also breaking your fast using only 1 big meal may not be the healthiest thing to do. Also may cause some women to hit a weight loss plateau after a while because they may not be consuming enough calories, for example. And so what he recommends is that you follow the 2MAD diet. He recommends that you have your first meal maybe 3 hours to 4 hours before your big meal. And your first meal will be just something small to break your fast, like a salad or a shake or just something that's easier to digest. The benefits of the 2MAD diet are very similar to the benefits that you would experience with any other intermittent fasting method. And the main one is that it reduces your risk of metabolic disease. Another great benefit of 2MAD is that you only have 2 meals a day to prepare. And so it can be very convenient as you'll be saving time in the kitchen and you won't have to plan as many meals. And another great one is autophagy. The process of autophagy is your body repairing itself, replacing dead cells, and the longer you fast, the deeper the autophagy becomes. So with 2MAD, depending on when you're having your meals, you may be fasting for over 20 hours, or you may be even fasting for a fairly long period of time in between your meals. Another fairly common way to practice 2MAD is called fasting from sunset till dawn, and that's the typical type of fasting that practicing Muslim do during Ramadan. And it simply means that you are having your first meal at dawn and your second meal at sunset. And during that long stretch of time during the day, you are also fasting and most likely achieving ketosis. So that is also very healing and beneficial. Okay, so I think that probably gives you a pretty good idea of what the 2MAD diet is. Now let me just go through the simple questions you can ask yourself to determine if this might be the right intermittent fasting method for you. Question number 1, what is your fasting experience? If you have never fasted before, I would not necessarily go for 2MAD right away. You may find fasting really difficult at first, and limiting yourself to only 2 meals, even if it's during an 8-hour window, might feel really depriving and too difficult to sustain. If you have never fasted before, I would recommend you start with either a modified fast or the ketogenic diet. A modified fast is based on the fasting mimicking diet, which is created by Dr. Walter Longo, and it is a 5-day fast that allows you to eat a certain amount of calories, and so your fast does include food, which makes it more sustainable and achievable for the average person. But the calorie restriction is severe enough that you will experience healing and you will also achieve ketosis. If you are curious about modified fasting, I'll leave a link in the description and you can go check it out. Another great option, if you've never fasted, as I mentioned, is the ketogenic diet. And the benefit of the ketogenic diet is that it will mimic fasting without you having to fast. And the way it will mimic fasting is by forcing your body to use its fat stores to produce energy because you are giving it so little glucose. I have a 7-day meal plan if you are interested in trying the ketogenic diet, and again, I'll leave that link in the description for you to check it out. Okay, another question that you can ask yourself is, have you ever been in ketosis? As I mentioned in the first question, doing the ketogenic diet is a good way to prime your body to start with fasting. And so if you have done the ketogenic diet before, it'll be easier for you to get back into ketosis, and fasting will be easier. And so you may be ready to start with intermittent fasting. The question is how long ago you did the ketogenic diet and how long you did it for. Obviously, if it's quite a while back and if you didn't do it very long, then you may have to do it again. Another question that you could ask yourself is, can you see yourself sustaining the 2MAD diet long term? I often mention in my videos that we are not into crash diets. Whatever you are doing to achieve your health goals is for the long haul, and so you have to be able to sustain it as a lifestyle, because most likely if you achieve weight loss or whatever else doing intermittent fasting and then go back to your old ways, you'll just gain the weight back and lose the benefits of all your hard work. And I don't want that to be the case for you. I want you to think about which intermittent fasting method you can see yourself sustain long term. And that may change over time. For example, when I got started with intermittent fasting, I felt that skipping breakfast was very depriving. And so I favored intermittent fasting methods that I didn't have to practice every single day, because that's what I could see myself doing long term. And as I got used to it and started enjoying more and more intermittent fasting and fasting, I found that I really didn't want breakfast anymore that often. And I went from methods that you do twice a week, like the eat, stop, eat method or the 5-2 method, to fasting every single day, except for the weekend. And now I really just fast every single day, even the weekend, because that's what I enjoy and that's what I want. So that is also something to consider. If there is a method like the 2MAD diet, for example, that you cannot envision doing long term, it's okay. This may change or it may not change, but give it some thought. And the last question that you can ask yourself is, which intermittent fasting would make you feel the least deprived? That ties in a little bit with what we just talked about as far as being able to sustain your chosen intermittent fasting method long term. But I do want to add the important emotional component to that goes with intermittent fasting, because that's what it comes down to when I talk about not feeling too deprived. Obviously it will help you sustain it long term, but it will also help you improve the results that you get, because any stress on your body, whether it's intermittent fasting or changing your diet, will cause the release of cortisol. And cortisol is great. It's an anti-inflammatory hormone that has fat burning benefits. And yeah, so it's great that you release this hormone when you are practicing the keto diet and intermittent fasting. However, you do not want to release too much of it, because if you do, then it will have the opposite effect on your body. And you may get stuck at a plateau. You may find that you feel awful, and it may cause havoc in your hormonal function. And one way to make sure that you avoid this issue is to pick the most rewarding intermittent fasting method that you can. So look at the different options. I have another video and another blog post to help you do that. I will link it in the description. So look at the different intermittent fasting methods and try to decide which one would make you feel happier, which one you would feel like you can treat yourself enough and feel great about doing. In summary, the 2MAD diet is a great intermittent fasting method for many women, because it not only helps you learn to listen to your hunger cues, since it's not dependent on the clock as much as just making sure you're getting your 2 meals a day. So you may actually change when you're having these 2 meals each day, depending on how you feel and what your body needs on that specific day. But also it allows you to fast long enough to get deeper in ketosis. That is also a great benefit of 2MAD. As you get more experienced with fasting, you may notice that you feel really energetic before you eat. And that is something that many people enjoy when they do intermittent fasting. You feel so energetic and focused. And then once you eat, you may start feeling a bit more tired. So if that's the case for you, you may decide to keep your 2 meals to a 4-hour window or so. Again, it's all about listening to your body and finding out what works for you. I hope you found this video useful, and see you next week.